Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mysterious Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Engkanto.
And I am Punky.
And today, Punky, my co-host, is bringing us another tale of something very horrible.
It is a little horrible. Disclaimer now, it is a little... it's a heavy topic. But it is... I feel it's important.
Well, and I think that's the whole thing. All the subjects that we bring up, we feel that is important, and we understand some episodes that may not be easy listening, and that is the whole thing itself. That's why we make them standalone, so you don't have to tune in every week for each episode. There's some that you may not feel is suitable for you at the time, and that's perfectly okay. We're cool with that. We know that's just how it is. So we're sorry if any of them are too heavy or anything like that, and maybe this is one of them that might be the cause this time round.
I will say, disclaimer on this one, this does deal with death. The problem with this specifically is we don't exactly have a nice, neat little explanation. There is no wrapped up with a bow on this. So, and I would suggest if you're flying anytime soon, do not listen to this until after you've landed.
Okay. All right. Let's start this episode.
I am not trying to traumatize anyone.
I mean, you already done it. I mean, like you already, like, you know, I'll act as like, you know, subject zero right now if that is the case of being the first victim to be traumatized. So yeah. So anyway, what's the story about today?
So we are talking about the disappearance of Flight 2501.
First thing is, I mean, you say 2501. So 2501 is a bit of a weird number for me because for three things actually. One, that is my dad's birthday. If we're going by the UK dates, so sorry Americans or other people in the world who do dates differently. Also, 2501 was my old PIN number at one stage.
That is wild.
Yeah. But also, interesting enough, and kind of a weird thing, I don't know if you remember a anime called Ghost in the Shell.
I do.
Right. Ghost in the Shell. There's a Pacific code, and that code was 2501.
Oh, wow. That is wild.
Yeah, so all these little things kind of just like match together. I know it's not the same thing, but yeah, just hearing that is like, whoa.
The coincidences, that is
Right.
absolutely wild.
Exactly. It's like, what? How hold on, wait, what? So yeah, really bizarre. So, okay, so we're talking about a missing plane, you said.
Yes. So, unfortunately, you know, to burst your bubble with the conspiracy theory of the numbers. So, it is a weird number. Generally speaking, flight numbers like that are route identifiers. So, a lot of people would think that it's you know, the flight number of the day or something such as that, or like, you know, when the plane was made, or something to do with like a specific concrete event. And that is not the case. It's literally just telling an identification of where this plane is going at that time.
Okay, because I I did wonder what the numbers are. Yeah.
It really is just the weirdest coincidence, not gonna lie.
Also, you mentioned about flight numbers having all these weird details, and you're saying it's not for the date that they're created or things like that. So, what are they actually for then?
I'm gonna gloss over this a lot because I've never been in air traffic control, and there's there's a lot to it. You're tracking a huge expanse of sky. And this will come into what happens later. That's why I'm kind of going to give a little bit of a framework here. You're tracking multiple different planes in multiple different levels of the sky, 1,000 feet, 3,000 feet. You have to know how high they're flying, where they're flying, when they're flying, what the destination times are, all of that.
But I was also going to say, I mean, is it a case that they had to check with another um, airplane company to say, look, do you have this number or do you have this registered already or do you not? Can we use this? Like, it's very interesting to know how they pick all these numbers and registrations for all of this stuff.
To me, it's a lot like cars. Of all the places that have cars and you don't get repeat identification numbers,
Oh, you mean the license plates?
yeah.
Right, yeah, I get
Well,
you.
or
Yeah.
VIN numbers, or,
Oh, okay, yeah, fair. I had no idea about that.
this is the simplest explanation of why this is the way it is. The interesting thing is this particular flight was on a track from New York to Seattle. So it was basically a cross country flight.
Right,
And they
okay,
had a stop in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This flight really wasn't anything special.
okay,
Literally nothing about it would give anybody any reason to pause.
right, yeah.
And honestly, the flight started out amazingly boring. It left New York at 7:30 p.m. It was a small flight, relatively speaking, especially when we consider today's numbers. There were 58 total people on the plane.
Was this a small plane then?
The plane itself really wasn't what I would call small. I guess relatively speaking, it's a little smaller than some of the other possible plane options. Again, I wouldn't say it was a small plane. Now, the interesting thing, this was a Douglas DC-4. And I know that probably doesn't mean a lot to most people. DC-4s were actually meant for use by the Air Force.
Right, okay,
They were not passenger planes in the sense of just carrying people for commutes. The first batch of DC-4s was commandeered in 1942,
right, okay,
and they just, started being used primarily for the U.S. Air Force. That's all it was meant to really do. They were basically used for military transport and to go across the oceans. After the war, of course, you've got all these planes, and what are you going to do? A lot of the planes were either sold off to other places or, repurposed, essentially. And some of them made their way into commercial airlines. By all accounts, there was nothing out of the ordinary with this plane. It was a typical plane. And it had been bought and put into service with Northwest Airlines. Again, very boring. There was nothing special going on. The plane took off, totally normal flight, literally, from the time it left New York to the time it hit Michigan. Something that is, for all the techie people out there who enjoy it, fun little facts about this plane. This plane had 4 Pratt & Whitney R2000 Wasp engines. Now, again, to the average land-dwelling person that says, oh, plane flight is fun, that's not going to say much. The part that will make more sense, these engines provided a maximum airspeed of 280 miles per hour to this plane. It could move.
I'm still just trying to work this whole thing out at the moment. So yeah, this is why I'm just listening in.
No, you're fine. So, given the airspeed, the time, and all of this, 2501 passed over Battle Creek at 11:51 p.m. Eastern Time. Now that's very important, okay? Because these time zones will start playing a factor in this story. They radioed in to Northwestern Air Traffic Control Center of Chicago with the expectation that they will be passing over Milwaukee at about 11:37 Central Time. Okay. Now, fun fact, I know for Brits and some other people that happen to be not accustomed to large land masses, we have 3 different time zones in one country. As far as the mainland goes, the main difference that we'll focus on is the fact that going from Eastern Time to Central Time is an hour difference. Eastern Time is ahead of Central Time by an hour. They figure from the time that they radioed, which would have been 11:51 Eastern Time, which would have been the equivalent of 10:51 Central Time, they would be flying over Milwaukee at 11:37 Central Time. So you're talking about 45 minutes difference in that case. Okay? 50 minutes max. So within the hour. And they would be flying at 3,500 feet. Okay?
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Completely routine.
Yeah.
Everything checks out. Good to go. They fly on their way. Now, they get closer to the edge of Michigan where it becomes lake. Anybody who's dealt with the Great Lakes has some stories. They just have some stories. I will say lake effect is real. Lake effect is very real in Michigan. Okay.
Hang on. What do you mean? Expand on this. I mean, this is something for someone who's outside the box. What does this actually mean? Because this is something new to me. It's a new terminology.
Lake effect?
Yeah, I mean, I've not heard of that before.
It is apparently kind of a new, or at least an unknown concept, even over here. especially landlocked states that don't have a lot of big bodies of water around it. Bodies of water play a huge role in weather effects.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
You have your hurricane, you have your winds, you have, your rain effects. All of that will be altered by bodies of water.
Okay. Yeah. I'm starting to understand little bit more, but yeah.
The fun thing for anyone, and especially anybody who's lived in Michigan knows this painfully well, the Great Lakes are not normal in any way, shape, or form.
Again, I'm gonna need you to expand on that.
The Great Lakes are very much like inland seas.
Right. Okay.
They act very abnormally from what you would picture of a lake. We say the Great Lakes, and people think lakes, oh, cute little, small bodies of water. You might get a couple little waves. They lap at the beach. It's fun to walk through. They splash your ankles. Life's grand. That is not Lake Michigan. um, these get wild. Like the lakes themselves get absolutely wild.
I'm actually intrigued because obviously I never visited that area. So when you're saying they get wild, I'm really interested now.
I have seen pictures of, and I only say I've seen pictures because I was not crazy enough to go out myself and personally, explore in the dead of winter on the banks. But there are pictures of lighthouses that literally look like a kid took a bucket of water and dumped it over a model as it was freezing.
Sounds awful.
Welcome to the Great White North. I've visited both Lake Michigan and Lake Superior.
Right. Okay.
Was lucky enough that Lake Michigan was fairly calm when I went. Lake Superior, on the other hand, that was interesting. I happened to actually be walking along a cliff face, and it was extremely cold, like ice cold
Right.
water,
Yeah.
and it was crashing, and it was splashing up to my knees.
Youch.
Yeah.
How did that affect your knees? I mean, did it make you affect your walking a lot more, or what?
I
Yeah.
mean, not in that case so
Okay.
much, but only because of the experience I was in. So, shout out for anyone who wants to explore. This was at Pancake Bay, and there's actually a wall face that has like pictographs and stuff on it. It's really, really cool. It had, I hesitate to call it a walkway,
Mm.
but a walkway of sorts. That it was maybe a foot wide and then sloped about 45 degrees into Lake Superior.
Okay.
Yeah. So the cold was not the function or the focus of that whole hike. It was making sure you don't slip and fall in the lake.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, and I was much younger, so I had not done all the, wonderfully stupid events of youth that tend to wear the body down.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
If you picture, what the ocean looks like as a storm's rolling in, that was very much the vibe that Lake Superior was giving off that day.
That sounds crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
It is a little crazy. And it can very much go from idyllic, calm, glass smooth lake to torrential hurricane and gale force winds in an instant. So anybody who sails or flies over the Great Lakes, if they have any experience at all, they monitor and they are prepared. Like this isn't when throw your rookie in and say sink or swim. So they were coming up on that area really quick. And as it does, the weather decided to do what weather does.
Yeah.
And it rounded up a storm.
How bad a storm was this? Because this sounds really. I'm getting very nervous about hearing this now.
Well, records show that Flight 2501 requested clearance to drop to 2,500 feet.
Yeah.
So they wanted to essentially be allowed to fly lower.
Yeah.
But they were denied. Air traffic told them that there was traffic in that area already, and they could not descend. Was fairly routine, typical, back and forth, totally fine. Except that is the last communication that anybody has ever had from Flight 2501.
What happened?
That is the mystery. Nobody knows. There was no mayday. There was no distress call, no distress signal.
What?
Nothing. They just literally disappeared.
I would have thought there'd be some emergency thing going on to say, like, look, like, like there's something wrong here, something's going on, something. But you said there's nothing that happened.
There was nothing. As a matter of fact, remember they said they should be passing over Milwaukee at 11:37.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mitchell Field, which would have been handling that area, noticed that about midnight they had not heard about this flight. It had not checked in, had not had any communication, and so they would have been about 40 minutes late on their route. So they tried to contact 2501 and got no reply. So that puts them almost a half hour late before anybody even realized that they were missing. And so they sent out, because they hadn't gotten a reply to their message directly, they sent out a blind broadcast, which is basically kind of like a, hey, checking in, has anybody heard? If you're out there and can hear me kind of thing. Like, attention all, what's going on?
Right.
Again, no reply. Sometimes communication fails, radios break, this, that, or whatever with technology. We've all had it. Once the 2 attempts at contact failed, they tried another option. After 30 minutes of attempting, or after 30 minutes of being late in the 2 attempt, they decided, okay, maybe the radio's busted. They can't get out, but maybe they can hear us. So they sent out instruction that, hey, if you can hear us, circle the command. Like circle the tower. Let us know you hear us. Let us know it's you. Do a physical act to say, yes, I'm here. Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, just something to just acknowledge and just say, look, we're here.
But got nothing.
Oh my goodness. Roughly what year did this take place?
This was 1955.
I'm not sure if black boxes were a thing on planes then or not really.
I'm not entirely sure.
Right.
I believe that they were in use, but I can't swear to that. However, in this case, even if they were, it wouldn't have made a difference. And there's only one reason I say that in this case.
Okay.
They never found it.
At all. Not even wreckage or anything like that still to this day.
They never found enough of anything to have answers. 30 minutes after they sent out the 2 calls and then the request to circle the tower, they decided to issue an emergency signal alert, which is basically, the equivalent of sending out a distress message saying we have a missing plane.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, wow.
They started searching immediately. Like they let people know, and they were out.
Yeah.
They did everything they could. They got a hold of air traffic control.
Yeah.
Got a hold of air and sea rescue facilities. By 5:30 in the morning on Saturday, they presumed the plane lost, because by then it would have run out of fuel, even if it had been still flying.
Right, yeah.
The search and rescue teams began as soon as daybreak hit to search the lake.
But wouldn't they actually, and again, back in that time period itself, would they not actually check to see if the plane has enough fuel or things like this? Like, I don't know. Was that not a thing that was done back then? Or I'm just thinking outside the box.
No, and that's a valid question. Absolutely. They would have known, because you have to document all of this stuff. That is one thing. And, the laws have changed over the years. But flight has always been kind of a stickler for documentation. And so you had to upkeep and maintain logs of all of this type of stuff. And so they would have known. And they knew the type of plane, they knew, the specs of it. So they would have known the size of the tank, and they could have reasonably said, okay, it had this much when it left, it would definitely run out by, XYZ hours or distance. And, that's part of why they called it so fast, is because they knew, by the next morning, they're like, even if this plane was, hijacked or missed its turn, so to speak, and kept flying, it was going to be out of fuel.
But then, as you said before, it stopped at somewhere else before, in New York.
It had left New York.
Yeah. So I would have thought, yeah, they would have filled it.
They probably did.
Okay, yeah.
But it had not reached its next destination yet.
Yeah, and this is the thing itself. I know when you go on like like some of these flights itself, when it comes to stopovers and things like this, they have to like refill the plane, which can take over an hour to just do because it's such a huge tank that needs to be filled up with all this oil and everything like that and petrol, whichever term you want to use. But the fact is, it needs to be filled up correctly to know that it's got enough to just keep going. And that's what I was
It
thinking,
does.
okay, that key point there when it was in New York, um, if there's any evidence or sign to say, yes, like, the tank was filled up from there, like, so we can dismiss to say, like, it wasn't a case that there was not enough fuel in the plane itself. Things like this. It's just trying to find out what could possibly cause this at all. Uh, yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah.
It is a lot. And I will say, I I had a conversation about this recently.
Okay, yeah, please.
This is one of those stories,
Yeah,
events,
yeah.
however you want to phrase it. You'd never walk away with a satisfactory answer. Literally, you do not.
I don't think you can with all of this, really. You just can't.
Well, you haven't even heard the worst part. That's the sad thing. It gets worse.
How can it get worse from what you just said? I mean, this is just like awful in itself.
They started searching along the side closer to Illinois. Logically, they were that close. They in theory should have made it across the lake. And there were a couple of oil spills that indicated that they probably could have. So they started searching there. It was floating patches of oil.
Right, yeah. Also, there's possibly a leak.
They never found anything.
Oh, good grief.
About a week later, give or take a day, they started to find small pieces of debris.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this in the least graphic way possible.
Okay, yeah.
Portions from the plane.
So the pilot might have actually lost control of the plane itself.
It's very possible. But these items washed up on shore
Right.
north of South Haven, Michigan.
How close is that to the lake itself? Just so someone like myself who doesn't know.
That's on the beach. That's
Right.
literally the beach.
Okay.
This stuff washed up on the beach. So they started to this stuff washed up literally on the beach. They closed the beach down.
I mean, rightfully so.
They literally closed it off to the public and started collecting all of this. They started to find over a 4-mile area just pieces of the plane, and none of them big. Literally, there were no big pieces. When you think of, a plane crash, and you think, there's going to be large twisted pieces of metal or, a door.
Yeah. Just something at least.
They said tiny pieces floating to the surface.
Oh my goodness, that's awful.
We're talking things like pieces of upholstery, an armrest, and the pieces specifically that one of the skippers for the Coast Guard were finding. He said that, or they said that the largest piece of wreckage was no bigger than a hand. This wasn't just a case of the plane went down and sank.
Yeah.
Kind of just to give you an idea, like how serious it got.
Yeah.
They found the pants of an 8-year-old child.
Oh man, I didn't realize there'd be such young passengers on the plane.
There were 6 children on the plane. They found one of the boys' pants, just his pants. They found a wallet. And the sad part, in that wallet specifically, they found paperwork that suggests that the guy was going to the wedding of his daughter. They never found him.
Oh man,
All they found was his wallet.
oh that's not right.
In fact, they never did find a complete body.
Even still, I mean that's just
It's hard. It is so hard to take that in.
that's a really tragic thing to just hear in total. I mean,
And to not have an answer.
right.
They literally do not have a reason for this. With everything they found, as far as people go, they dug 2 mass graves and laid everybody to rest together. They collected the debris of the plane, whatever washed up. The insane part, as if this could get any more insane, okay? Because nobody had answers. Nobody had a reason for this. There were reports of a flash in the area. Remember, it was storming, so nobody really...
Yeah, okay, no. I'm starting to...
It could have been a thunderstorm microburst. That was a theory. Or an explosion on the plane. But nobody knows. And there was never enough wreckage to figure it out.
Because I was just thinking just then when you mentioned about the weather, yeah, I was thinking maybe it could be a case of the lightning bolt actually might have struck the plane itself, and that's something we hadn't really considered, which could cause the whole leakage on the plane itself. And again, possibly the case of like the pilot not being able to gain control of the flight itself due to that. Again, I don't know how planes were made back then, and I don't know still to this day how powerful like planes are against these forces of nature, to be honest with you, how it can survive this. I mean, I've been through really horrible turbulence where it's raining really hard, and that was really scary, and it was a very scary time being on a flight like that. So I can't imagine what it must have been like on this plane with a situation like this. I mean, seeing the lightning, how bad the weather was, yeah, there's a lot of questions there.
I have been on a plane in a thunderstorm. I think I was about 12, 13 or so. I was on a flight home, and the irony is they rerouted us to miss the storm, and we ended up flying through it. I wasn't scared. I was sitting there just like glued to the window going, oh, that looks so cool.
What is wrong with you, woman? What is wrong with you? Oh my goodness.
Do you really want the answer?
So today, everyone, I hope you realize how weird Punky truly is. This is evidence of it. There you go.
I love thunderstorms.
I love them as well from a distance.
All for like being right in the middle of a thunderstorm. I could see the lightning, just beyond the plane wings. Like, I'm just sitting there going, that is gorgeous. That is just, like, I was awestruck. Not gonna lie, I was like, just completely mesmerized.
I cannot. I just listen. I know you guys
I,
can't see my expressions, but my mouth is just open. Just like make it make sense. Make it make sense.
how long have you known me?
Long enough.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. The end.
Ironically, I mean, we never had any trouble. We never had any. It never seemed scary to me. Now, of course, other people were kind of freaked out, you
Uh,
know,
yeah,
and rightfully so. I mean, I am probably the weird one. We never got hit by a bolt of lightning. We never had any trouble with the plane. So, in theory, I mean, as long as it wasn't just like a complete disaster of a storm, they should have been fine. You're always going to have that oddity, though. So, there's no guarantee that it was not storm related, unfortunately. But something else, too. I've never seen a lightning strike absolutely demolish anything to that degree. I've seen trees that have been hit by lightning, and trees, you know, flammable wood, things that would burn pretty decently, and they're still standing. And yet you have a plane that the biggest piece of wreckage is the size of a human hand. As somebody that's been on a plane in a storm, in theory, unless it was just a weird freak accident, they should have made it.
yeah.
They really should have made it to their next layover. There was zero reason that anybody can think of for this whole plane and its passengers to just disappear off the face of the earth. And what's wild, okay, so there is a Michigan search and rescue group. You had the official search, obviously. They didn't find anything. You know, the pieces of wreckage and what parts of beings they found was it. The search and rescue group out of Michigan, the MSRA, took up the search. The Michigan Shipwreck Research Association took up the search in 2004. In that time, they searched 700 square miles of Lake Michigan. So they spent 20 years, 10,000 hours, and about $500,000 looking for this plane.
Huge amount of money, but then worth it to just see what happened wrong. What went wrong?
Except they found nothing.
What?
They literally found nothing.
How long was this search?
20 years.
Good grief.
That's not including the official efforts. it's mind-boggling. I mean, what do you say to that?
Can you say to that? Literally, like you said, what can you say?
I mean, how do you search for 20 years after an official organization having to do with all of this searches? I mean, we're talking Coast Guard, we're talking, you know, the literal Coast Guard teams out there with divers, with equipment, with everything, and didn't find anything. And then you spend 20 years with improved technology and equipment. Still find nothing.
It's unbelievable.
It's disheartening, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally disheartening because they finally called off the search. This on the 75th anniversary of the crash, they announced that they had to call off the search.
Which is sad. I mean, they probably didn't want to, but their resources are filled and they don't know where else to look. They've done as much as they could, I guess.
Like they said, they 20 years and nothing was found. Nothing was found.
These poor people. I mean, like 20 years, like trying to look for the truth, and I mean the families as well who'd been, desperately waiting to just hear something, just anything at all, and just to come out empty-handed. It's devastating.
It really is. And the sad part is they didn't have the radar like they do today to actually track all the planes. Air traffic control was the one that was tracking planes at that time. It wasn't, you didn't have the radar in the towers like you do. And I don't know exactly how they tracked without the radar. That part I don't fully understand. But they tracked them, but they didn't have like the fun little mechanical radars the way they do today. That is part of what the check-in process was, an updated I am here at this time. So because they didn't have all of the technology, air traffic control had to track, the height, the distance, all of that. Basically was their eyes at the time. They had to basically make sure these planes avoided each other and got to the proper destinations. Because at the time, I mean, this plane was flying, it was unpressurized, which is why it was flying so low. There was no onboard weather radar at the time. They kind of had to navigate through when they had visibility with the lightning flashes. But again, it didn't sound like it was anything out of the ordinary. At the time, it was the largest loss of life in an airplane crash in American history. But it was forgotten so quickly because it literally happened the day before the Korean War broke out.
Good grief.
You have a plane that disappeared, all lives on it lost. No real answers, no wreckage to speak of. It got overshadowed by the Korean War. And people today don't always remember it or hear about it.
But it's still sad, like, to know after everything, all the efforts and things like this, there's just nothing. It's horrible. It's really horrible.
It really is. And Lake Michigan is not friendly. It really is not. There is something close to about 1,000 aircraft that have reportedly gone missing in Lake Michigan. And ironically enough, apparently reports also include a space satellite crashing into Lake Michigan as well. Sputnik 4. It's a Soviet space satellite that reportedly crashed into Lake Michigan near Manitowoc in 1962.
When was the first reported incident, shall we say, recorded?
I don't know if they really have an actual, start date, But when they were searching for 2501, they have updated the MSRA website to list the other wreckages they did find, and they have 8 other missing aircraft in that same area dating back to the 1930s. They only searched, and I say only in a relative term, they only searched 700 square miles of Lake Michigan. So we're not even talking about, the whole lake. We're talking about a very small portion, relatively speaking. Like I say, the Great Lakes are something else entirely.
Well, it does sound it. I mean, good grief. This lake is like the Bermuda Triangle in a sense. I mean,
They do actually call it the Lake Michigan Triangle.
for good reason. I mean, look what it's done. I'm not trying to make it sound bad, but wow, this thing is like a black hole. Has there been any it's going to sound weird, any songs about it or any folklore stories regarding it? I mean, as terrifying as it is now, but
Not this one specifically that I know of. There is a song. This is going into another story down the road, definitely, but there is a song about the Edmund Fitzgerald on Lake Superior.
okay, fair.
Without giving too much away, that song does go into a lot of folklore. Not that this happened, at the same time as the story depicts in the song.
Right.
There is something on the lakes called the Witch of November.
Interesting. Continue.
So, about late fall in Michigan, you get some major storm change. That's kind of the winter is hitting, and most of the time on the lakes, that is your last call to get off the water. It's also a time when the weather just feels very angry. The Witch of November goes back to the idea of the calm 1 minute, storm the next, and it kicks up some pretty nasty storms. And it has taken ships, it has taken lives, it has decimated a lot of things, just man-made and other.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's unreal. And if you picture, the stories like The Perfect Storm,
Yeah.
that is essentially what you have. And anybody who's been on the Great Lakes long enough will tell you, you don't mess with the Witch of November. You don't mess with the lakes. They will chew you up, they will spit you out.
Mm.
And they will not think twice.
Mm.
So, as odd as the name sounds, as folklore-ish as it sounds, because it does. It sounds like, oh, this is an exaggeration. It can't be that true. Unfortunately, it is.
Well, I was going to say, yeah.
For all the, melodrama that it has to the name and to the legends, it is a very true event, and it is terrifying. And I mean, honestly, you almost just have to witness it for yourself, because words don't explain or do it justice.
it makes me look at them in a different view. I mean, I don't know if there's like mountains next to it or whatever. But
Not really.
really,
Ironically, not really.
that's that is surprising because I would have thought that'd be the one thing that would be there. Is mountains.
Lake Michigan, especially, is a lot of flat land. I mean, you have your hills, but like mountains? No. Lake Superior, where I was at, same thing. You know, you had your cliffs, but again, not mountains like, you know, what you would think of as, say, the Rockies or the Appalachian
Yeah.
Mountains.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about. Yeah.
No, it a lot of that area really does not have the landforms like that. It's very much just lakes that they have Chihuahua syndrome. They really are just lakes that have Chihuahua syndrome.
Chihuahua syndrome. Oh
Yes,
my
they,
goodness.
they they are lakes that looked at the oceans and said, "Nope, I'm not too small to take that on. I can be as big
Wow.
as bad as you," and set out to prove it.
I mean, and okay, I didn't know this. We called it a Chihuahua symptom. Syndrome. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe this. I mean, I heard the times like people saying, like that person's like a Chihuahua, like like its bark is worse than its bite, and literally, this is what you're saying to me right now. I, I cannot. I just, oh my goodness. The Chihuahua syndrome is a thing. My goodness.
I, I've
Okay.
I've given you every piece of information today that, like, I don't think there's one thing I've given you today that has not, like, stunned you in some way, shape, or form.
Literally, I mean, this whole incident itself has been insane. I'm in absolute shock.
I told you I've got some stories, and this one was heavy.
Possibly as sad as the Prosecco fire, our first episode, where we had no
Definitely
idea.
is.
Yeah, I mean, this is really just tragic. So, do we have an official date of when the plane went down or whatever, things like this? So, again, if there's a time we can mark it, like, light a candle for it in memory of these poor people, just we can have something there for them.
It left New York on Friday, June 23rd. So sometime essentially sometime between June 23rd and June 24th. But they don't know exactly when because you were almost at midnight, and they don't know when if it went down Central Time, if it went down Eastern Time, where it went down, like, none of that.
Still sad. We can only speculate, as you said, when the anniversary is itself properly, if it's on this day or another because of the time zone difference and stuff like that. But then these type of stories are never easy to deal with. But I mean, hopefully they do decide to update. I know there's the Malaysian plane crash and everything like that, and there was this equipment they were trying to use to try to discover where the plane might have crashed itself, and unfortunately the equipment wasn't enough. But um, in time, I'm hoping that we can find more and just find out what could have possibly happened, what could have triggered it. If there is a black box for the plane itself, that would be amazing to know.
I do know, and I misspoke earlier. Um,
Okay.
I said I thought this was about 1955 when it went down. It was
Yeah.
1950.
19. Okay, so 5 years earlier.
Yeah. So I don't know if this one had a black box. The Malaysia one, I believe, did. But
Yeah,
again,
it did. Yeah.
finding it
Yeah,
The black box is great if you can find it.
yeah, and this is the problem itself, finding it.
I would think, and they may have by now, I don't know. Again, not my area of expertise, but if they have it, I would think they would get it to where the black box can send, its files electronically. Like maybe it updates every, 3 to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just sends the new files on. That way, you have a digital copy if something happens and you can't retrieve that black box. To me, that would make sense. I mean, I don't know the logistics of how hard that would be, especially international flights or anything like that. But I mean, even if we could start with like local domestic flights, something to start this process so that no matter what, there is a dedicated copy of these black box recordings. That way, I mean, you have people that never got answers for either flight. You have people that, they lost spouses, children, parents, grandparents, whatever, these people were somebody's family and they lost that. And all they have is they disappeared. They're gone. You know, there's no real funeral. There's no, you're mourning, but you never have closure.
You're never going to have the closure, and this is one of those tragic things is that, again, in this lifetime, I mean, the poor people who have lived through it, it's like, never got that closure before some of them passed away, unfortunately, and that's really tragic. Like you said about a young child being on the flight itself, I mean, didn't get experience to see much of life. There's a lot of tragedy in this whole situation itself, and yeah, it's really hard.
It is. I mean, it's sad. And I mean, this might sound cold. I don't know. Part of me, when I read, with the families on there, with the kids, part of me was like, at least they went together. It wasn't this case for all of them,
Yeah,
but you know, but it doesn't make it any easier. It does not make it easier at all because yeah, they went together, but they're still leaving others behind. And it is hard. It is absolutely hard. I can't imagine everything that these families have gone through, you know, hoping for an answer, hoping for that closure, just hoping to know what happened. And it never comes. It never is something that they get that peace in.
I will say this: we will light a candle in the honor of these people. We hope that wherever um, they are at peace, and whatever did happen on that flight, we may never know in this lifetime. But I'm hoping there can be some peace for their family, at least, just something to comfort them, for the remaining members of the family who are still searching for the answers, and hopefully cross fingers that in years to come we find out something more, find out some more development.
I hope so. I hope so. And I hope that we can do something that prevents something like this from happening again. I hope that, I mean, we can't get answers right now because we don't know what happened. We can't fix something we don't understand. I am hoping that the more we learn, or even what we don't learn, the more we think about, that they can, do something to help prevent things like this from happening in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all we can really hope for, and just cross our fingers things just keep improving over time.
I really hope so.
Is there anything else that you had to add, or has that covered all the bases?
That's covered everything that we know of the story up to this point. I mean, there's a lot you can dive into if you really want to go into the topic. They've written some books about it.
Oh wow, yeah.
And
yeah.
some of that will be in the links that we add onto this episode. Feel free to dive into some of that. Maybe somebody will have an answer that we don't.
Hopefully they do, and they can find out exactly what happened and can give maybe a plausible theory of what could have caused it as well, just something. Well, Pete, we're sorry to leave it on a sad and not a great ending, but again, we have hope, and that's all we can do is just cross our fingers, have hope for something positive to happen. And yeah, well, peeps, hopefully the next episode Punky will have something lighter, right?
Yes, we
Right?
will have our 10th episode, and
Woo!
that one should be fun. That one should be very fun.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm actually going to be able to tell story this time. Not just one, multiple.
What?
Yes, at last.
Should we give them a preview?
No. No. No preview.
I guess you'll have to tune in. You'll have to tune in.
Yeah, I'll go wait until we are actually set up and ready to do this. So hopefully you can enjoy it, and hopefully it won't be so scary for you. We'll say that at least.
That counts as a preview.
Yeah.
I accept it.
Yep. All right. Well,
I'm so excited.
same here. I'm excited to record it. I'm looking forward to doing it. But for now,
I'm looking forward to your stories.
oh yeah, they are going to be crazy when I tell them.
Yes.
Yes, peeps, you will have something to look forward to from me.
Let the countdown begin.
Say like, cue the final countdown, but then I realized that's a really expensive song, and that would probably bankrupt me like multiple times. So,
I'll be good then and won't sing it.
you want us to be copyrighted and delisted already, don't you? Like, good grief.
Not at all.
There you go, people. She's trying to sabotage the whole podcast.
I would never.
The lies. Absolute lies. Anyway, peeps. We will catch you on the next episode. Double digits, number 10. We're looking forward to having you with us for our 10th episode celebration.
So do we have to pop the tops and do a soda toast to the double-digit episodes?
We will be, yeah, because we have to celebrate in style, and hopefully, we may have a special guest. We'll see.
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I like that.
All right. Well, peeps, we'll speak to you soon. It's goodbye from me, Engkanto.
And Punky.
Take care, peeps. Have a good rest of your day, evening. Just enjoy yourself and be safe.